Carl here from Metal Wani, and today I once again have the privilege to hang out with a gentleman who is not only an integral part of one of the best extreme metal bands to ever come out of Norway, they just happen to be one of my personal favourites also. I'm stoked to be here with none other than Grutle of the mighty Enslaved. Dude, thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with me.
Sure, yeah, cool. Nice to be here.
First of all, thank you so much because you guys always manage to fit Dublin in here somewhere, so thank you for always coming back here. We love having you. So you guys are out on the road supporting your latest record, E, and it's a stunningly good record, man. Seriously, congratulations to you and the guys. The record feels to me like it's captured a pretty special time for Enslaved. One of the many things I love about you guys nearly 30 years on is that you're still ever evolving and you like to pursue that growth, and I feel like E is kind of like a prime example of that. Would you agree with this assessment, or what do you think?
I think, yeah, I totally agree. And there's a kind of a line changes they call for. It feels kind of like a new starting point, like a new milestone with new members and new band dynamics and all. And yeah, it feels really it feels a lot fresher than the previous releases, to be honest. So yeah, it was really enjoyable to write and record the stuff. It was amazing.
Wonderful, man. And I think Enslaved bands, especially ones that have followed you guys for a while now, now that you're a band who incorporate a wealth of philosophical and mythological elements into your music, and on this record the track Sacred Horse I feel is a prime example of that. And the record title E doesn't just conveniently stand for Enslaved, and I hope I'm right in saying this, that's why I have this here, but it is actually a runic connection in Norse mythology, which stands for Avos, which, correct me if I'm wrong, is Odin's horse. Exactly, yeah. So on E, I understand that you guys were writing at least lyrically on a larger scope and not just focusing on individuality. Were these concepts, challenging to write about, or was that coming quite naturally to you?
Yeah, but natural and of course interesting, and that's Norse mythology and the interaction between man and the gods and the giants, chaos and order. Unconscious versus the conscious, dreams versus reality. They're all intertwined. So I love that. So it's kind of both easy and complex at the same time.
Fair. Yeah, more than fair.
So it was really interesting, and the horse is like Odin's horse is of course is the offspring of Loki's half brother, and which is also a half Jotun, and the horse it comes from both the world of order and chaos. It's a kind of a bridge between two worlds.
Sure, right.
Or between order and chaos, and yeah, the state of dreams and the state of being awake.
That's exactly what I was looking for. I was looking to get that education. Thank you so much, man. So when the record first came out, you guys cited at the time, with the member changes and stuff that you mentioned there, that it was a risk. Now, a year on, has that risk paid off?
Very well.
Yeah, I think so.
It's good to bring in some fresh blood and new ways of thinking, and we even just got a new drummer. So yeah, I like those changes.
Yeah.
We got two really different musicians, very skilled at another level. Not to say anything bad about those that are replaced,
of course,
but they are different. People are different, and they fit perfectly into the band in 2018.
Fantastic.
It's just what we were looking for.
So, and now that you've had these member changes, of course, most recently with Kato and so on, do you feel you've had your fair share of lineup changes now for a year?
Well, I mean, the thing is, no.
Yeah, exactly.
And you just have to deal with things like that. Or you could just stop, of course, but I mean that was never an option.
Yeah.
So you just have to find the best solutions available, and I think we did.
I think you did. From the outset, it's probably fair to say that when you guys kicked off, you were, straight up traditional black extreme metal band, before you started shifting your sound with progressive elements, of course. When bands or artists migrate toward different styles. There can sometimes be, you know, something of a tumultuous kind of backlash from purists, in this case, you know, extreme metal purists and so on, who have a reluctance to kind of realize what you're trying to do. Did you guys experience this, and if so, were you surprised, and, you know, how did you combat it?
I think to be an Enslaved fan, to follow Enslaved, you have to kind of expect something like that.
I would completely agree.
Exactly. So, and we have to keep in mind that we have never done this in any other reason than trying to develop ourselves, trying to make our own favorite music at the time being. So I think that's the only logical approach to make music. I mean, you have to do this for yourself. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you're just copying yourself in order to please a certain audience, and that it means that becomes really artificial.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
As opposed to making real music.
Yeah.
It's got to be, to use the cliche, it's got to be heartfelt. You know?
Exactly.
Otherwise, it's just assembly music.
I don't know.
I mean, there are enough bands that does that, and I never really understood why they did that. I mean, why trying to be AC/DC? We already have AC/DC.
Exactly. Exactly. And one of the things I love about you guys is that, because you've always been a myriad of different styles, but you made a really good point. I read you were saying that, like you said there, it has to be heartfelt, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be extreme. It has to be. You often cite that, you know, that can mean beautiful, that can mean soulful, and you guys, I think, marry the two of them brilliantly.
Yeah, I mean, we like to change the dynamics in the song and you know, incorporate different styles, but still make it seamless. Mm-hmm. And I mean, a song should reflect a certain state of mind of the writer and of those who arranged the song. Mm-hmm. And I mean, there is not such a thing as only black or only white, or the answer is always in between.
Yes.
So that's the way a song should be.
I completely agree, man. So you guys have been out on the road for as long as you have, and touring for as intensely as you have. You guys are, you know, you have like in the past few years, I've caught you here, and then you come back with Opeth. Now you're here again. How has touring changed for you since you guys kicked off in the early '90s, and what are the different challenges you face now touring in 2018?
Well, I mean, touring now is it's. I mean, we tour a lot more, but I mean, and of course that can be exhausting. Mm-hmm. Different continents and lots of traveling, lots
different
of
lifestyles from when you started as well.
Of course. Yeah. But I mean, the tours are a lot better. The venues are better. Mm-hmm. The conditions are far better.
Usually helps.
I mean, if we did it the same way as we did back in '95, I don't think we could do it, because, you know, shitty backline, shitty tour buses, crappy venues. So I mean, I mean, it has to be a development, or otherwise you just, you know, can't give in. Mm-hmm. So it has to be things that really has to improve, you know.
I completely agree. Yeah.
Otherwise, it's not interesting. You know?
Absolutely. And we spoke earlier on, and I was saying that one of the things I really love about you guys is that, you know, you're always looking to pursue growth, and you're always kind of forward thinking. And one of the conversations I have with a lot of artists, and I keep having it because the variance in answers just kind of fascinates me, is that a lot of them kind of feel that there aren't a lot of bands who either A, do that, or B, want to do that. There's a lot more imitation as opposed to innovation. And there's a journalist, Simon Reynolds, who kind of refers to this as retromania, where the culture as a whole, but in this case music culture, kind of has an addiction to its own past.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, you know, is that something you'd agree with? Is that something you see, or do you think, no, there actually are forward musicians out there, they're just kind of buried in this over a saturation and plethora of music we have access to now?
I mean, I listen to, I'm kind of, in my musical taste, I'm you know, pretty much retro. I listen to most of the music I listen to were made in the 70s. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I rather like to use that and then try to transform it rather than copying it.
Right.
You know, to incorporate it, because it's really good music and good sources of inspiration. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean that we wanted to sound like in 1972.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think
that's where the danger kind of.
That's the difference, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's why I kind of often ask artists. I can edit this number. I'll edit that. Yeah, no, I often ask artists because we apply that thought then to kind of, you look at, you know, bands who are out there, you know, bowing out, calling it a day, you know, the greats, and then you kind of look at, well, who's going to be the next genuine torchbearer, and do they have the conditions in which they can do that? And ultimately the question then kind of becomes, are you confident or concerned for the future of our platform that we have here?
Well, I have been, because I mean, there are too many copycats, of course, which is not a good thing. And if there are only copycats, things will just cease to exist. Good music will just disappear. But I mean, there are original bands. There are the new torchbearers, and one of them is they're playing downstairs.
Yes.
For instance, Prog is a very innovative original band, and they doesn't sound like anything contemporary bands. I mean, they have similarities with the bands, like, of course, they're inspired by bands. Like
Everybody, yeah.
Neurosis and
Sure.
also the, you know, things from the 70s as well, and the post rock and all that. But I mean, they bring some vitality into the scene that are lacking, in my opinion. So I would really like to see more younger bands doing the same thing, daring to be original and realize that things takes time, rather than just jump on a retro wagon and put on some silly clothes because you like.
Absolutely. Of course. And you know, I was fortunate enough to a couple of times this year speak with Mark Jansen of Epica, and we were talking about Epica, and we were talking about Mayan, and we were talking about the different challenges that those bands face, just, you know, having started a couple, you know, just, you know, years apart. And we kind of got onto the question of, you know, when it comes to these torchbearers and these guys like, you know, downstairs who are out there and they are doing it and they are keeping it fresh, do they have the conditions, you know, industry-wise to survive and to, you know, to carry that torch once, you know, they're holding it for any period of kind of serious longevity?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's always room for quality, and all those trends are eventually dying out. I mean, for example, in the end of the 90s and the 2000s, there were like 10,000 similar sounding black metal bands around.
Sure, right. Yeah.
With the same corpse paint, you know, and you don't see that much. I mean, they're still there, but I mean, in lesser numbers, because that's no real trend anymore. Right. So I think the same thing will happen to the kind of extreme retro wave that we are facing today. I mean, some of the good bands that eventually will change into being original, those are the ones that will survive.
Yeah, completely agree, man.
The wagon jumpers, they might find something else to do and go back to their day jobs or something. I don't know.
Wonderful. Well, I'm always so glad that you guys have never, you know, you never fall into that. And that's one of the reasons you're one of my favorite bands. And I won't keep you too much longer, man. Finally, you know, I know you guys have had a crazy year. You're out touring the record intensely. It's still pretty fresh, and you've had member changes. You got a lot of stuff going on. But I was wondering, can you pierce any of the anticipation or wonder that fans have as to what might be next for Enslaved? Is there any writing going on, or whatever you think you can share?
Oh, we are after our last show in the series is going to be December 1st in Trondheim, Norway. And after that we're gonna play less live next year, and because we want to concentrate on writing
fantastic
new material, and eventually we're going to record that material next year.
Brilliant.
So we need some time on the road to actually team up again.
Sure.
In the rehearsal space, and that's what we are. That's what we intend to do next year.
And I look forward to that.
It's going to be touring next year as well, but not as extensively as we have done the past 2 years.
Of course. Well, man, listen, thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with me today. It's always a pleasure chatting with you, and the very best of luck with tonight and everything in 2018 and beyond, my friend.
Thanks so much.
Have a good one, yeah?
I have to see if the shower is working.